ahoy. Did you guys know that back in the day when the telephone was invented, one of the options instead of hello originally was ahoy? And we really dropped the ball, so we're trying to bring it back. So ahoy, here we are, episode 9.
Shelby is also an ancestor of Alexander Graham Bell, so he's trying to right a wrong that was done to his great-great-grandfather many years ago.
I feel like you can't even. I feel like I would normally just roll with that joke and be like, yep. But it seems like everybody back in the day was a scumbag, and so I'm just going to nip that one in the bud. That's not true. I have nothing to do with the guy who invented the telephone or stole it. He probably stole it. Who knows? But yeah, here we are again, Austin, Texas, office space, which is actually just a room in the house. I'm standing up because I believe in being physically fit and fitness and health and longevity. Josh is sitting down because he eats gas station churros. Here we are, and our guest is Ron Gallo, which we are very, very excited about.
Yeah, we talked to Ron like a fortnight ago, and it was a pleasure. We had a great time picking his brain and just getting to know him a little bit because we've been fans of his for years. And Heavy Meta was like the first record that he put out, but that Shelby showed me, and I've been a big fan ever since.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy. Puts on a great show, so definitely go see him if you get the chance. We wanted to throw this one out kind of soon because he seems to be a mindful guy who touches on a lot of stuff in his music and also just in his personality of positivity and like being a better person, and it just felt like something that should be talked about right now and paid attention to.
If you're new to the podcast, we are a band called First Names, and we have all of the online socials that every band is forced to have. It's
right.
At First Names Music, and please check it out. Shelby is gorgeous, and I eat gas station churros. So
yeah, it would really be a shame to just hear our voices only, and not be able to see Josh's face. He, he has.
Yes. Go ahead.
She is. There's something there. All right, sponsors.
Waterloo Records is one of the number one destinations I like to take any guest to who's visiting Austin. It's got a great atmosphere, really nice people who work there, and an extensive amount of records, obviously, and record players, and socks and shirts and VHS tapes. Anything you could want, it's there. So highly recommend going if you're close or you're stopping by. Also, they have a great app and website if you want to order any new summer releases or Ron Gallo records on the internets. How do you get 10% off, Shelby?
By saying the code phrase.
What's the code phrase, Shelby?
Spy Kids Forever.
Okay.
That's how it's actually. I have on my notes here, Couch Radio. So that was easy. I should have been able to remember that. Just say Couch Radio. Say it. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Do it.
I tell people that's in there.
Yeah, Josh will do that.
Yeah.
And it's weird because some people are like, don't talk to me. I like music only, not interaction, which is fine. But some people also like to save money. And Josh is looking out for those people kind of constantly, Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I take it upon myself. Yeah. Couch Radio, 10% off at checkout.
Yeah.
Next sponsor.
Yeah. Next sponsor is Monkey Nest Coffee. Monkey Nest Coffee is a place for coffee. It's got coffee and other coffee things, and sometimes you wake up and you think, coffee? And so you're going to want to go to a coffee place. And Monkey Nest is a thing. You go and then they have the coffee. And I'm sorry, Josh didn't tell me what coffee is. So I'm floundering a little bit. He just handed me the sheet and was like, talk about Monkey Nest Coffee. And I'm like, is this some sort of net? What? So, yeah, but apparently if you also say Couch Radio at this place, you will get coffee, whatever that is. And you can eat it or throw it or whatever you do with coffee. at a discounted price.
Okay.
That might have been
We have Ron Gallo here, and hope you enjoy.
Bye.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Thanks.
All right, yeah, I figured I would use the proper mic and an interface.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because we've been talking about that lately, listening to podcasts, and like everybody's doing it like virtual style, but some of them just sound like fantastic. So we were like, how are they doing it? And so
There you go. Doesn't sound like a tin can.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you.
For sure. How you guys doing?
Doing really well.
Yeah.
Look, is that your setup there for all your like live gigs you've been doing on Instagram?
So I'm kind of in the process of developing it a bit. Like I ordered this green screen a few days ago, and it just came in, and I like hung it. So that's gonna be like phase 2 of figuring out how to like do really nice video shit at home, because that's probably gonna be the future for now. So I figured gotta make it better somehow. So
Yeah. Are you normally just doing it like on your phone, or do you have like a camera setup? And
usually I use the iPad, but I was able to get the audio to sound pretty good by running it through Pro Tools and an interface, and then through another interface into the iPad. It's like this really fucked up setup, but I figured out a way where it doesn't sound like absolute shit while playing. So
yeah, right on.
Trying.
Have you been giving all that valuable information to the people that you've been setting up, like on the really nice Instagram feeds that you've been setting up, and like with all your like bands that are like your friends? Like, have you been giving them all the information on how to record well at home and like put on the proper show so it doesn't sound like a tin can?
I've talked to a few friends that were like trying to figure out how to do it early on. So yeah, I've tried to share some tips and also been given some. It's like, it's funny because all of a sudden everyone has to be like an audio engineer. So you're kind of learning like a whole new world.
Yeah, it happened overnight, man.
So, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So you got a bunch of shows canceled.
Yeah, I mean, a festival in March got canceled. I was actually supposed to, tonight and tomorrow, we were supposed to play in Chicago with Car Seat Headrest. Canceled. And then I had a tour that was supposed to start in 2 days that we never even announced, but then we just have relocated it to November, which is still a question mark. So
Right.
we're just going to try. We're going to like book it and just hope that by the fall things can be safe and happens. I don't know though. So,
Yeah. The whole thing's like super weird, right? Because just every time I just feel like I hear just conflicting views about everything. It's like mask, no mask, it's gonna be fine, or no, it's actually gonna be worse in the fall, and like all this stuff. So it's like hard, especially when your business is contingent on getting in front of people. Like it's just like no man's land right now.
yeah, we basically have to decide for ourselves. Like there's no one's really in control right now. It's like you have to take full responsibility for like your comfort levels, what works for you, because there's no information really.
Yeah.
So it's like for us, me and Kiara, it's like, she's got asthma, and so like she's a high risk person. She's Italian, her family's in Italy, and things were terrible over there. So like our view of everything has been really sort of extreme on like the overly cautious side. So we're just like, we don't know what's safe, so we're just gonna like stay in. When we go out and walk around outside, we wear a mask. Like we've had a couple friends over in the backyard. They sit like 20 feet away. So we're just like, we don't know shit, so we're just gonna go to the extreme of like being completely safe until we know more. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're at.
So I like your learning to chill video. Did she help you out with that and recording that at home?
She did, yeah. One night I was going to bed and I started singing the words "Learning to Chill" to the tune of Tom Petty's "Learning to Fly," and then I was thinking about like should make it sort of like a '90s hip hop, like Jurassic 5 instrumental track, and just this very like monotone delivery of it. And I was just fucking around, and then it turned into a video. And she was just like, "It's really cool that you're investing so much time and energy into like basically a joke." That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Whatever works. It kept me busy for like 6 hours. So.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting. I read it was some quote or something about Heath Ledger, and I guess somebody was saying that like their favorite thing about him was that he just, if he had an idea, he literally just started working on it like right then. I mean, is that something, like it kind of almost seems like that. Is that something that like, especially now when you're like, okay, we need content or whatever, is it more like, okay, I got to really refine this idea, or is it like, okay, I've got a spark for something, let's just go?
Dude, it's been such a time of the spark. Like it right at the very beginning, like when that the festival you're supposed to play got canceled on March 13th. I had like flown a band in. It was a new band. We rehearsed all week, ready for the show. It got canceled 24 hours before it happened, and I was like, to my drummer Josh, who came in from Philly, I was like, "You've been here for a week. We put together a whole show. Now we're like, fuck, what are we supposed to do?" And that's when sort of like the spark creativity thing started happening. And I was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Day of the show, we're going to figure it out. We're going to go buy gear. We're going to do a full band live stream show. Fuck it. We're just going to play for everyone in the whole world. We did a show for like US time, and then we did for European time. And it was incredible. And then like the next day I was like, well, that was fucking cool. Now I'm just going to like start doing a digital festival. And then a week later I started Really Nice Fest, which ran for 8 weeks. It's kind of died down a little bit because I've had to finish up music and I'm getting ready to put out new stuff next week. So, but that's what it's like. It's every day is just, well, a day's wide open. You come up with an idea and you're like, let's just do it. Like I've done like crooner karaoke where I put on a suit and just sang Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin songs on the live stream. Mm-hmm. I did like a covers night. I've done a talk show. All kinds of shit. Just like I wake up and I'm like, let's just do it. And in that way, this time is kind of cool because you don't have to work within the boundaries of anything. The days are wide open. So it's been cool in that sense. Even with like releasing music, I think everyone's like immediate reaction was, why release music right now? We can't tour. Like, but for some reason I felt the opposite. I wrote to my label. I was like, I got songs done. Let's just put this shit out now while people are home. And, you know, we'll get back to touring at some point, but let's give people music when they need it. And I'll just figure out creative ways to promote it from my house. And, so even that idea, now we're just going to release like each song. We're going to do a song every 3 to 4 weeks. I'll make a video here. So even that's like unconventional and kind of spur of the moment. So it's, yeah, it's just like do whatever comes into your mind.
Yeah. Especially with like, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like with your music and like what you're putting out, it very much seems like where your headspace is at the moment. And it seems like very current, not that I've ever even talked to you before, but it seems very current for your like, I don't know, headspace or what you're thinking about in that particular moment of time. So like so for you, it almost seems like especially poignant to make sure that like, okay, I'm putting this out as I'm feeling it. And then has it always been like that for you? Like, have you been like just drastically different and bopping from thing to thing?
Oh yeah. I am all over the place. That's like I guess my defining trait. I get super into something and I like milk it for all it's worth. And then in a few months or a year later, I'm like completely onto something else. And so it's really just like a constant chase of myself, like being able to catch up with like exactly where I am and how to create from that place. And so it can be chaotic sometimes, especially when you make a record and then it doesn't come out for like 2 years after you make it, and you're kind of like already on to the next. So it is really important for me to like, when you feel something, make something and put it out there. Like the sooner I can get on that kind of timeline, I think the better that I'll feel. Because I don't even know where I'll be in 3 months from now. It could be, you know, I don't know. So
Yeah. So you mentioned that your drummer, right, lives in Philly, and that's where you're from, right? Like, can you just maybe walk me through your decision to like go to Nashville and kind of like the beginning of everything, and how you started to get I guess a foothold where you are now?
yeah, I mean, Philly will always be home. I will always identify with Philadelphia, but I was there. I grew up right outside. I lived in the city for 10 years, and life just kind of crumbled there. And I got to a point where I was like, I think it's just time to make like a personal change. And I came here really because a friend of mine texted me on a whim and just said, I know you were thinking of maybe making a move. My roommate just moved out without even telling me. So I have an open room, and it was exactly what I was paying in Philly at the time. So it was sort of like this moment where it's like the universe saying, dude, take it, just go. Stop talking about it, get out for a bit. And it's weird, man. I can't really say that I kind of feel alien in Nashville. Like I feel like I don't really particularly fit into any scene here, so I'm always, you know, bouncing around from like totally different worlds, and I don't really feel a part of any of them. Like sort of. So I don't know. I don't know if it's forever for me, but you know, at the time it was just kind of like a gut decision, and you know, I love a lot of the people I've met here. But it's weird. I just kind of like very much do my own thing here and don't feel like it fits anywhere. But it's been good to me. It's been good to me. So, you know, I appreciate it. It's a good place to be right now, too. House with a yard. Way better than a major city, I think.
Man,
Yeah.
I remember listening to Stardust Birthday Party the first time, and I just remember thinking like, man, I haven't had this much fun listening to a record since I don't know when. And it was just like really, really fun for me, really cool. It's one, every time I listen to it, I get something new out of like the music or the lyrics. And that was definitely like, did it feel like a concept album to you when you were writing it?
First off, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was very like, it felt like a weird album to put out, and I never was like aware of how people received it. But so I'm glad you're into it. But yeah, it was kind of a concept album, I guess. You know, it was kind of me trying to. You know, I was like at the time I was like on some really heavy like internal path, you know, exploring a lot of things that, you know, just kind of like looking at yourself, self-inquiry, and even just like meditation and going on like retreats and stuff. I was into all of this. I was trying to like look at myself for the first time in my life, and I got like really, really into it. And I'd never really delved into that kind of shit like for my first 20 something years of living. So I think the concept behind it was trying to like address these big existential questions, but not dressing it up in a way that's not like when you think of like new age music or like ambient, but just it was like basically to me it's like kind of like a punk, you know, new wave kind of record, and it's aggressive and it's in your face, but the theme just being sort of like a person asking himself, really facing the big existential questions of life. And it's, I don't know how obvious that was, or like how sort of out there it came off to people, but it was a snapshot of a moment in time, a weird moment in time.
Yeah, I feel like we're about the same age. And like when I was growing up, I didn't feel like people were talking about that stuff. So like I totally relate to not until your 20s really like addressing that kind of stuff. And I thought you addressed it with like levity and like in a kind of a poignant but like a fun way too, to where like it invited you in to think about it instead of like just being really like it can get pretty dark talking about those kind of things. And I don't know, it was right up my alley. I really enjoyed it, man.
I love to hear that. That's awesome. I mean, because that was the point. But you never know how people are going to take it, and making topics like that digestible is, I guess, was my goal. So, hell yeah.
What's your I kind of did want to get into this. Like, do you have like some sort of like meditative like routine, or like, or is that just kind of like spur of the moment? I don't know. I'm feeling spiritual today, or do you try to stay in that lane, or how does that work?
Um, it's always ups and downs. There's moments in my life where I like really commit to practices, where it's like I wake up every morning, I do like a meditation, and I'm like listening to certain things, and I always feel significantly better. And then you get back into like the daily grind of life, or just normal shit, or it just gets heavy sometimes. So you just want to like watch Friends, or just like play PlayStation 1, and and then you kind of realize you get off track with it, and it's always kind of there. So it fluctuates, but I do know for a fact deep down that like when I just take time every day to just kind of like clear my head, I feel so much better, just like mood wise, clarity wise, creatively. So yeah, it's just about like remembering that and being like, dude, just take like 30 minutes today and just like sit for a second, like stop. So I've been back on it, trying, but
Yeah.
these are roller coaster times. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Every day's different.
That's an interesting. I feel like that even like being said for people who like aren't into like taking some moment to be mindful, that like yeah, like everybody kind of struggles with even like starting to sit down to do it. And then that kind of like fishtails into this other thing that I think about a lot, which is like I can know that, say I like running or something. I can know that I like running and it makes me feel good, and all this stuff about it is good, and even while I'm doing it that I'll enjoy it. But for some reason there's this force of nature that's like, nah, maybe you don't want to do it. And so like having to fight that is such a crazy thing, I think. I don't know if that's even with like creative.
What I think that is, I think that's like, it's that like dark part of ourselves, the ego, whatever you want to call it, that's like, what's good for you is also worse for our dark parts, because they kind of like don't want to be, they want to take over. They don't want you to like fix anything. Like we have that constantly going on in us at all times. And we all have like the good. We also have like that, I guess, that dark part that's like constantly in combat. And so I know exactly what you mean. You're like, I know that's good for me, but there's something even heavier on some days that's like, I can't even get the will to go do it. You're like, what the fuck is that? Because we all have this like self-deprecating part, and it's about like shoving it down. And I think it fears stuff like that, because you're going to like break through that like evil voice in your head that's trying to prevent you from doing the good. Yeah, I feel you, man. Every day. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like even the better it's going to be for you, the bigger the resistance is. Where it's like when you're angry. It's like you know you can stop being angry, but it really doesn't. You don't want to stop being angry, you
Right.
know. But it's like that's when you should definitely do it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
because
when
when
you
you
get angry, you thrive on it. Like you
right.
don't even want to stop being that. Even that. Yeah, man, we all messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the point of your album too. You're saying we're all the same. We all deal with like the same stuff.
It's true. It's all in everyone. I think it's just like how much we realize that the world looks like it's so separated, and you know one person could be living a totally different reality, but we all deal with the same shit
Yeah.
Yeah.
at a core level. And we should remember that, because then it just changes the way the whole world looks. It's less divisive. It's more like,
Exactly.
hey, human. That's really the only thing that matters.
100%.
We're
Yeah.
all going through it. So
Totally. That's that's such a cool thing too, because like that was I used to dive really heavy into like listening to like motivational shit and stuff to try and
Yeah.
get me going. And one of the things that like hit me the most, which is like the most simple thing, was like this person saying, it's not that I'm just innately better at waking up in the morning. Like that stuff sucks for me. Like I'm lazy too or whatever. And then it just was like, oh. And then I read like the war of art or whatever, and it's all about that resistance stuff. And it just made me feel like, oh, like it's not that I have this thing that no one else has that's like blocking me and then I get to be a victim. It's like everybody's lazy. Everybody feels like garbage. And then it like that was some weird way like motivational to me.
yeah, I mean, it makes it more relatable, because you see people that you think have it figured out. Like they're living the dream.
Yeah.
But it's really important for everyone to hear, like, these people have the same struggles on a daily basis. It's just about like powering through. It's not like anybody's free from them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's I think that's motivational too. It's more human. They're like, people are like, I have everything figured out. Every day is just heaven for me. It's bullshit. Nobody. It's unattainable. So like, but
Right, man. Well, what can you tell us about like your newest album or new music or whatever you're coming out with like next week and in the near future?
Um. So yeah, I took about a year off. The last tour date we had was June 4th last year, and I was like super burnt on myself and the band and tour and just the whole thing. And so I knew that I kind of need to like break down and kind of like refigure out the whole thing. So I've just spent a lot of the last year just like asking myself, like, what are you really into? What do you really want to make? And trying not to be influenced by anything I've done before. Because I didn't want it to be like, well, you've made like 2 records like this, so you kind of have to stay there. That shit's just limiting. So I just like broke it all down, and I just started like making GarageBand demos last summer all over the place, like letting in like my 90s R&B hip hop influences, my pop influences, my jazz influences, all of that shit, just pour into it. And now it's a year later since I started working on it, and it took me pretty much the whole time to figure out what it was. But yeah, it's like my weird take, like hodgepodge version of pop music, and it's a blend of all different shit that I've never explored before. It's a whole new world from anything before it. And so I don't know, it's gonna be, people that I've shared it with have been kind of like, whoa, I did not see that coming. And I love that, because it's that kind of stuff excites me. So Yeah, I got 6 songs done, and I'm just gonna start putting out like one track every few weeks, just to kind of slowly roll it out. And it could turn into an album. It could just stay an EP, but I don't know. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. I'm excited to share it.
Yeah, well,
That's
I'm
fucking
excited to listen.
exciting.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I guess just pretend like you're not listening to the same person. It might be easier to absorb. But clean slate.
Yeah. Is that something like, especially like getting like some semblance of, an initial success from something, is that like, do you feel then like the pressure, like, oh man, like, okay, I should probably stay in this lane at all or whatever? Is that something you had to like break out of? Or?
I did for the second record, and I feel like it was a painful process because it just never felt right. It was super rushed, and because that was kind of that there's a pressure sometimes from the music industry where it's like momentum, build on the momentum. We know that you've been touring for a year and a half straight, but make another record now, put it right out, keep going, kill yourself. And yeah, so I did that once before, and then I realized it just doesn't work. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make the best shit. So that's why with this, I was like, this is how you got to do it. You got to like step back, stop being a like professional musician, be just a person for a year. Because then you can write about shit and talk about shit that people need to hear or talk about. You're less like professional musician goggles like all the time. So yeah, fuck the expectations. It doesn't. That's why that's why I did such like a drastic pivot this time, because I had to just like let go of that tendency to stay in the same lane.
Yeah, I feel like one of the best things you can do as an artist is be unpredictable.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
Because then you can build your life on doing whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
To me, that's way more exciting than being like, we're this kind of band and we hate it at this point, but we just have to keep doing it for the money. Like, that's miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, Shelby is a huge King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard fan. And one of the coolest things that they do is like, you never know. You're going to get like kind of like a math rocky kind of album, and then like a heavy metal album. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's like one had some countryness in it and robot voices, and that's like the most exciting part to me listening to them is like, it's unpredictable. And like, I felt like even though you were pigeonholed maybe for that Stardust birthday party, it's like one of my favorite things listening to the record though the first time was it even took left turns within it. So it makes sense that you're that kind of person where it's like even halfway through a song, I want to pivot the other way.
Yeah, it's like a weird ADHD or something.
Yeah.
It's like 30 seconds in, you're like, okay, it's been on this for too long. We gotta make a left turn.
Right. That's
yeah,
cool, man.
I'm excited about that same thing. I love the unpredictable. Like the artists that I like the most are people that just you have no idea what's coming next. And it's fun, man. It's freedom. It's cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I feel like some of the things that like might keep an artist or I guess me from like going down a different road than what I've done before or something is like expectations. But then like I see some examples of people doing it, and like the reception for it is like insane. Like people love it. So it just makes me realize like, oh, like again, we're all kind of the same, like I would love that. So it's like, oh, okay. Like thinking that other people will love it isn't crazy,
Exactly. Yeah, because you always kind of have it in your head, like, oh, this band changed so much. I fucking hate this, man. They changed.
Yeah.
There's always that thing in your head, like there's certain fans that are kind of like that. I'm sure there's plenty. I mean, I'm sure there's people that know like one song of mine or like just want me to keep making that same song. But yeah, man, it's fuck that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So what was the like recording process like for this latest venture then? I mean, was it way different?
Complete 180, because normally I've mostly worked like live band in studio and then try to make it as live as possible. But this started as GarageBand, iPad GarageBand demos in this room that I'm sitting in last summer. Just like drum machines and like built-in drum loops, plug a bass DI into the shitty interface, guitar, synth, like just building everything block by block. And then, so I guess the progress of it was started there, and then I went to go stay with Chiara in Italy for 3 months, and I got really restless, and she used to work at a studio there. Chiara's my wife, by the way. She's just walked in for a second. But so I was staying with her in Italy, where she's from, and she used to work at a studio there, and I got really restless. I was there for 3 months, and she's like, why don't we just go in the studio? Like, try a song, see what happens. And so we ended up basically dumping my shitty GarageBand demos into Pro Tools and retracking some stuff and, like, you know, polishing them up a bit. And then I finished it in March with a producer in Atlanta, a guy named Ben H. Allen. And I was supposed to go to his studio and work together mid-March. Then all this shit happened, and we got on the phone. We're like, man, this really sucks. I don't know what to do right now. And we kind of decided just working remotely would be the safer option. So then we were just kind of like sending things back and forth, like postal service style. And that was it. So I almost can't believe that the final product contained any of like my shitty GarageBand demo stuff, but like the most of the bones of the recordings are that. It was a weird process. Like, I played pretty much everything. Chiara played some stuff and sang on some stuff. There was one live drummer on a couple of tracks over in Italy in the studio, just like a random guy that was there one day. And it's just like hodgepodge, like mix of like lo-fi home shit and studio stuff, and there it is.
That's exciting, dude. I feel like somebody like, to me, like out, you know, you're through like, this is, I don't know, you have a pretty big discography already of like songs out there. And just to get something this like lo-fi, I guess, and just this homegrown from someone like, I guess, at your status is pretty unique. I mean, it's, for me, a fan, that's really exciting, because it seems like that's what a fan wants anyways. They kind of just want like their artist to go in a basement and just like to work with what they got, you know?
Yeah, there's something more intimate about it,
Yeah.
you know, like, because it's weird, man, going in studios, it's never as comfortable as your room or your house, you know? It's so who knows how, like, just how you feel when you're recording with like this, I don't know. It can't be better than just right here. And so I'm like surprised that a lot of the final product was like shit I did in this room, but I'm also not, because it's the most natural. So I guess the other side of that is, don't go like self-sabotage shitty like level of lo-fi. Yeah. So it's finding the balance between lo-fi elements with like listenability. So that was the goal here. The last record, I was like, the first mixes of Stardust Birthday Party were super like big and hi-fi and stuff, like radio, like, and they sounded amazing. And I was like, nah, it sounds too good. It needs to sound like an 80s punk record, like shitty mono kind of thing. And that's what we did. And I'm like, all right, man, well, like, don't be so surprised when it didn't reach, like, or people weren't as responsive to it as they were with the first one, because you kind of self-sabotaged the audio quality in a way I guess I was just in self-sabotage mode at the point, but But it is what it is.
It's hard to know the balance, man. I mean, especially with like mixing stuff. To me, that record sounds great in the car, but I don't know what it would have sounded like, otherwise.
Dude, the AV, I did it not that long ago. I played Kiara like, did I ever show you the first mixes? And she was like, she looked at me, she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was like, it's not that what the final product is bad. It's just when you compare what it could have been, it was like, because they like blow your head off, like.
Whoa, yeah.
And these are like, I like it, but it's funny. It's all good.
Yeah, that's a weird thing because I've done the same thing. Like we made a record, me and Josh, and like we were mixing it and stuff, and the guy would mix it huge, and then I was listening to like old ghetto bootlegged like music on YouTube, and I'm like, I kind of want it to sound like this, and I would bring something, and he would be like, honestly, this was like recorded in 1962 with like one mic pointed at the snare drum, and that's it. So you're not gonna get this, and I'm like, shit, and like, but yeah, man, it's weird. You kind of get into this thing where you're like, oh, I want it to sound ghetto, I want it to be real or whatever.
Totally, and there is something real about that, but it's like it's a balance thing, because like you said, he's like that process back in the 60s was a totally different thing. So it's like, how can you inject a little bit of that, but also work with like what modern ears and technology is used to? It's a balance I think we all hope to find, but I don't know.
That's right.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Where are you guys, by the way?
Oh, we're in Austin, Texas. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
In my, I guess office. Is that what this would be called? I don't know.
Office.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is where we. I don't know. This is where all the nonsense goes on. We do the same thing. We kind of like home record and everything, and
Nice.
that. So getting back to that, actually, that like kind of raises up a question with me. Like, when you go to record the songs, is it more like, okay, the song is written, or is it like, because we'll do this thing where we record the bass, like just guitar tracks and drums, and then we write everything on top of it once it's recorded, or is it like mainly like it's all written and you just have to plug and chug?
Man, it's always different. Certain ones, I'm trying to think about like this latest batch of songs. Previous records was always, I would write a song, usually me and guitar, and I would bring it to the band, and they would play whatever they heard. So that was the process up until this. This time around, it was all over the place. It was looping like a drum machine, and then just like I'll pick up a bass and just start playing something, and then I'll figure out chords and just kind of like do it like that. Some were the old way where it was like guitar and voice, and then this time around I tried to do like almost the opposite of what I would think to do with like a guitar and vocal written song. So that was fun because things turned out in like a way that I never would have imagined them to. Because it's like you play it on guitar and you're like kind of figure out a tempo, and then I would go in GarageBand and I'd like look through like the pre-built-in beats or whatever, and I would just like loop it, and I would play it over, and like it would inform the way you were playing it. I was like, holy shit, this is like a totally different vibe now. Yeah. And then I would basically track the guitar as the song and structure over that, and then just start layering stuff. There were a couple that were kind of like I heard them in my head and then just kind of made them, but yeah, this one's much more like, I don't know, open process. It's but I've never had like one way to do it every time.
Cool. Yeah.
The drum thing, if you've never tried it, starting with drums or like playing to a looped beat, I never really did it before, but when you let rhythm like influence the song, it kind of makes you think about writing it completely differently. So I suggest it if you've never done it.
Yeah, we recently just tried it, and I was like, it was like the first time Shelby did it, and yeah, man, the whole song has a definite vibe that wouldn't have happened otherwise in our normal process, and I love approaching songs in different ways because the product's different, and it's like, like it's less boring for you because you're not just like, starting the machine the same way every time.
Yeah, for sure. When you don't like sit down to write a song to, like, when you think of guitar, voice, singing, lyrics, something about doing it the other way takes all the pressure off that it even needs to be a song. You know? Sometimes when you sit down with a guitar, you're like, I need to write the fucking greatest song ever. There's a weird pressure. But if you're just like, I'm just going to make some fucking music, like, I don't even care. I'll make like a techno song right now. It could turn into a song. And it was a way more fun, and you sometimes get something even better out of it because you weren't even really trying. So that's why I like the backwards approach sometimes. It's cool. But,
yeah, it's like, you gotta be like a kid in a sandbox. You gotta be okay with throwing things away and not treating anything like too precious.
yeah, that shit gets in the way. It just limits you.
Yeah,
and you get frustrated, and then you're forcing it. And nothing good ever happens from forcing it. Done it a million times. You're like, and it never works.
I know, your trash can gets full and you have to like click the little button. Yeah.
Exactly. Going back to the beginning. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like hard to even take that process as like, oh, this is valuable. Like if, I invested so much time and I need to get something out of this time or whatever. But then like, sometimes it helps me when I like think about it like, oh, well, this just needed to get out of the way so that something else can come or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Just stepping stones, It's true.
Well, dude, I'm stoked about your new stuff because, like, I don't know, like,
thank you.
I love that you treat the guitar kind of like it's just a thing and you can make, just weird sounds out of it. And I appreciate that. And it's cool because you don't do it to where it sacrifices any of the song. It's not like, and here's 20 minutes of weird guitar sounds. Like they're placed well and you structure your songs well. So I guess like in more of a hodgepodge pop format, I'm excited to see how that turns out because it's like a pop, or there's structure to songs are very important. And I like how you approach songs in terms of structure. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Man, I appreciate. Thank you. Fuck yeah, I'm excited too. It's we'll see what happens. It's the whole guitar approach is like by necessity. It's like a songwriting tool and it's a noisemaker and it's like knowing one scale. Maybe I should learn another scale sometime soon.
Yeah.
But we got time on our hands.
Exactly. It's time to learn them all. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, exactly. I should probably learn, I don't know, another chord. I've got like 6 under my belt, so,
It's all you need. But yeah, why not expand the palette?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't hurt.
Well, dude, thanks so much for doing this, man. Like,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been listening to you for like quite a while. I actually saw you like, I don't know if it was like 3 South Bys ago, and I was hooked. I was like, man, these guys are great. And this is just, this is crazy to be able to talk to you, man. So we're stoked about it. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for having me in mind. I appreciate you having me. This is a good talk. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to get back to Austin too. When this shit's over with, I fucking love Austin. So I'm always thinking about like getting in the van and just like go spend a week there. So.
Dude, sick, yeah. We'd love to see you if you come.
Yeah, we'll go swim.
Yeah, let's go get some tacos or something.
Dude, yeah. I was gonna ask you too. Like, have you been skating at all during quarantine, or are you locked down, skating to inside the house?
I did last week actually. I dusted the board off for the first time last week, and I was actually just like not mobile, just on the carpet, just like practicing tricks. Disaster. But Kiara and we found an empty parking lot a few days ago on a nice day, and I was like, it was just nice to be able to like slack around and just cruise around. But that was the first time in a while, and I want to just keep doing that like every day because, as I'm sure you know, it's the best.
It's good to get outside, pop shove it.
Yeah, Exactly.
I always think about I don't know that in that documentary when you went down the stairs or like whatever, like that was the best. Yeah.
That documentary is still like my favorite thing. The most fun I've ever had making anything ever. So,
That intro
it's
scene
fucked up.
where you like run into somebody at Kroger or whatever, I was just like, man, this is you know that like just hundreds of people are like, yep, this is it. This is exactly what it's like.
Dude, yeah, man, it literally just comes from like life here at Nashville, Tennessee, where everyone is a musician, and it's just funny, stupid shit that happens on a daily basis. Man.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you guys.
inviting us into
Have a
your
beautiful
studio.
day. See you in real life soon.
Yeah, later,
See you,
man.
See you guys.
There's nothing to do. You're inside the living room. I've been here practicing for days.
We are sponsored financially
Well,
by no one.